YouTube, what the crap's going on? HeirofCarthage here, and I am back in Shogun 2 Fall of the Samurai. We're going to be doing our 5th scenario battle. Now, a couple people, just let me answer this real quick, asked, are there not going to be any more just online battles? There will. I think I'm going to rename it, just call it Variety Battles. So rather than just being like Rome 2 or whatever else it is, it'll just be me playing online battles or showing people's replays. So I will still keep those going maybe in between the scenario battles since they take longer to stage. I have been pretty busy this week, that's why I haven't gotten out as many videos as normal, but we will be back to our usual schedule, so no worries. So yes, what are we going to show you tonight? I mean, clearly I'm in Fall of the Samurai, so you must know that that's where the scenario comes from. So let's show you the winning vote from the last episode. So this time it was the Battle of Shiroyama, 1877, and this was by Jimmy Conway. Once again, this guy is a winner when it comes to votes, apparently, because I think this is the second time straight that he may have won. So it says, it was the final battle of the Satsuma Rebellion, with traditional Satsuma samurai facing off against the Imperial Japanese Army. The movie The Last Samurai was based off this rebellion. That is correct. So the Battle of Shiroyama took place on the 24th of September, 1877, in Kagoshima, Japan. So, as was said, it was the final battle of the Satsuma Rebellion, and in command of the samurai troops was, I believe, if I say it wrong, I'm sorry, is Saigō Takamori, and the Imperial armies were under the command of Yamagata Aritomo and Kawamura Sumiyoshi. So those were the commanders. So the samurai forces were actually heavily outnumbered, and Shiroyama, I believe, was a hill that they took control of, kind of as a last resort. They were fleeing after the siege of Kunamoto Castle, in which the Imperial troops had forced them out, and the remnants of the samurai forces loyal to Saigō had moved to this hill. They seized it on the 1st of September, and then basically the Imperial Army moved in and started surrounding it and constructing fortifications and hammering the samurai with artillery. And then they also even brought in naval vessels and were firing at them, with those kind of strikes. So a lot of very devastating artillery before the battle ever even took place. So, so basically, again, the samurai were badly outnumbered. There's only about 500 of them, supposedly. So anyway, after firing a bunch of final barrages during the night, Yamagata's men attacked Saigō's position, and the samurai were, under heavy fire, so they charged the lines downhill of the Imperial Army. And they had not been trained, the Imperials had not been trained for like a close quarters type fighting, and obviously the samurai had trained their whole lives for that type of fighting. So in just a few minutes, the whole Imperial Army basically turned into disarray as this charge took place, and their men started to fall and be disorganized. But I mean, it was shortly after that they started to drive back the Imperial lines, but shortly after that, Saigō was mortally wounded, apparently in the femoral artery near his stomach, and got carried off so that he could basically kill himself, commit seppuku there, and the samurai forces were just defeated under overwhelming fire. So they were defeated, put down the Satsuma Rebellion, and obviously the Imperial armies took control. But very, very interesting battle, a clash of two different time periods, something that's very fun, I think, for us within Total War. So, what have I done in this scenario? Is it going to be just like this? Well, there's really no way for me to set up a scenario where 30,000 Imperial troops fight, just 500 samurai. That'd be like 2 units versus like 10, and they would die instantly in this game, because there's no way for me to signify that. So what I did was I picked a map that had plenty of hills, which I think was going to be something foothills, Awaji foothills or something like that. So I picked that one. So that there's a lot of cover for the samurai. The samurai are going to be represented by the Shimazu in this case, and then the Imperial Army is going to be represented by the Satsuma. So that'll make it kind of fun. There was a rule of no traditional units for the Satsuma, so no Kachi units. It had to be all Imperial forces. They were allowed for 1 artillery piece, and then the traditional forces were going to get to use the hill to their advantage, but not necessarily just camp behind it and wait for the Imperial troops to come over so that we could try and recreate the battle a little bit better. But obviously the numbers are going to be a lot more equal here, though we will still be outnumbered by the Imperial troops. And when I say we, yes, that means that I will be fighting on the side of the last samurai. Yes! Patchy loves a good suicide mission. So in any case, let's flip over to the battle and take a look at what I have for you. So I'm going to switch back over into Shogun 2. And yes, of course, I'm going to, well, never mind. I don't even have Shogun 2 turned on in here, apparently. So, wow. Very professional. Very professional. How about this? Shogun 2! I thought I had everything all set up. I didn't. So yeah, here's my men taking a blast from an Armstrong gun. And let's go ahead and hit play and check things out. So yeah, my men are on the top of this hill basically baiting out some Armstrong gunfire. And they're going to be trying to use up some of the ammo from the Imperial artillery. You can see that they do have quite a commanding position up here. But across the way, there is a large number of Imperial troops arrayed against them. You can see the Armstrong guns in the distance. And then back over this way, there is another Imperial army as well. So let's take a look at all the armies that we've brought. So you can see that the map does favor definitely the use of hand-to-hand combat here because of all the lines of sight. However, I mean, obviously the Imperial troops, if they're careful, can shoot us to pieces in mere moments. My army consists of 4 Yari I've got 3 Katana cavalry. I've got 2 Yari cavalry, and then I've brought Shimazu Yoshihiro, but I mean, obviously this is supposed to represent Saigō in the armies, so that'll be what we're using there for him. And I'm trying to think, I got 2 Yari samurai as well, and I think that's about it for my army. My teammate has a lot of sword units here. It looks like he's got plenty of Shimazu Katana samurai and some Nodachi samurai. I see Yari cavalry, Katana cavalry, and then he's got some Yari Ashigaru out here just kind of taking up positions around the hill as well. And my little trick up my sleeve is these Kisho Ninja, which are hidden in the woods on the flank of the Imperial troops, and I'm hoping that these guys can start off a conflict which will get the attention of the Imperials while my army approaches and is able to maybe run down the hill quickly and engage the Imperials while they're out in the open, which would normally be very dangerous ground. The biggest thing I will have to be careful of is these saber cavalry, which are being sported by my opponent here. So you can see them at the ready. These guys will be a mess for my sword units and are a decent pick. There's his Armstrong gun. In terms of infantry, he's got a nice mix of levy infantry, Imperial infantry, lots of infantry here, all rifle armed, of course. And there's his General's Hatamoto. For the other player, again, basically has a bodyguard. It's an interesting choice. I think it's it's a more traditional bodyguard, but still, whatever. It all works. He's got a Gatling gun up here on the hill in a pretty commanding position, so that could potentially cause a lot of problems. And then he's got, looks like plenty of line infantry here. Up front, some levy infantry. And let's see, in the back, he's got some Black Bear infantry. Very interesting. And then some Imperial infantry in the very back, so saving his best for last. And he does have 1 carbine cavalry out here. So the Imperial forces were taking their time moving up their artillery and trying to get into good positions. And, you know, I told them that's perfectly fine. We're not necessarily just going to camp our hill, but we can't just push forward right into all the enemy troops either, because that will be certain death for us. So I'm going to fast forward through this. Again, though, compared to the real battle, this one's going to give us a lot more numbers than we would have had, you know, recreating that. But like I said, I didn't want it to just be a 2-second battle where thousands of Imperial troops just absolutely mow down my men, because it's so hard to recreate exactly what happened in the real battle. But you can see here the Imperial player on their right flank is going to push up and try and use this ridgeline to get some line of sight, which is a nice position to take, and it will be hard for us to challenge that. So he will put his guys in a pretty decent position there. In terms of my army, I decide here pretty soon to start sneaking my Kisho Ninja forward, because I'm going to need them, like I said, to help get this engagement started. When I fast forward, it is getting pretty laggy, so I apologize, but we will push on through that. There's really not any engagements taking on right now, maybe just a couple of pot shots here and there, skirmishes. Basically, players trying to jockey for a little bit of position. You can see my Kisho Ninja are now moving, and we will take a look at them. The mouse is acting kind of funny for me in here. It's been a while since I played Shogun 2, so the controls are a bit different. Yeah, you can see my guys sneaking through the woods. These guys do have a special ability that allows them to traverse open ground hidden for a very brief period of time while also increasing their speed. I will have to use that very well in order to make the most of it. But yeah, basically trying to get them in position to be useful for me. I've also moved my bows forward a little bit. I'm hoping to maybe get a chance to use some of the hill cover to be able to fire into Imperial troops. Over here you can see kind of our first initial engagement where some traditional troops come face to face with the line infantry of the Imperials. And you can see here these levy infantry pouring fire into this poor Yari Ashigaru, which was hidden in the woods. but now has become exposed. And very brave here, or actually that's my HeirofCarthage, my bad. They're going to fall back. So yeah, my guy's initially being shot at and pushed out of the woods. So the Imperial troops pushing us back from our position, forcing me to flee. And there are more HeirofCarthage that did actually get into a brief engagement with these levy infantry, killing a fair number of them before the HeirofCarthage were shot and forced into routing, basically. So you can see them here fleeing while being shot. And my Kisho Ninja became visible, like, even just on the edge of the woods, which I was like, holy crap, man. Makes it pretty easy to spot these guys. So I had to use their stealth run ability. And while I'm pushing them up, I'm also going to start pushing infantry up, so you can see me moving forward. A couple of Nodachi Samurai, and I have a Katana Cavalry that I'm going to pull out of hiding as well. So this basically gives me the perfect opportunity to tie down the Satsuma flank with my Kisho Ninja so that they can't turn and fire, and I can bring my troops over the crest of the hill, charging downhill into combat. My Kisho Ninja enter combat. They are going to be charged by Saber Cavalry, which is very bad for my ninjas. But they are going to get a fair few kills, and they're going to do it on these Imperial Infantry, which were one of the better units that the Satsuma had in this vicinity. So this is giving me a good opportunity. My HeirofCarthage now charging back, pushing the lines backwards, but a nice second line of Imperial troops here covering their retreat, which is definitely a smart move. I have routed some of the Imperial Infantry. They are leaving the field, and my Kisho Ninja continue to push the attack. And the Saber Cavalry, for some reason or another, is disengaged. Maybe because my HeirofCarthage were nearby. Yeah, I can see the Imperial troops tied down, and my men charging down the hill, attempting to engage in combat and use the disorganization of the Imperial troops to their advantage. If we go look on the other side, which we will, the Armstrong gun's still firing away. Nothing really happening on this side yet. A Yari Cavalry from my teammate coming into support, but getting shot by double line fire. And my men now chasing the Imperial troops, which are fleeing this general vicinity, but I'm being shot by the second line, who again is covering the retreat of these men. So the attrition for my men will be quite bad here. My Katana Cavalry catches the Saber Cavalry, but it is heavily outnumbered. It won't do great in this fight, but at least it can keep them pinned where they can stay away from my sword units. When the Saber Cavalry disengages, it actually kills a huge number of my Katana Cavalry for some reason. Not sure what that was all about. More Saber Cavalry here, though, and my swords are in pretty big danger. So now the Imperial troops are trying to reform. You can see they're a little bit bunched up, and I need to take advantage of this, but I have to be very careful with this Saber Cavalry out here. My bows are actually now starting to get some kills, making their presence felt against these Imperial infantry, firing over cover and down into these infantry units. Yari Cavalry coming in to charge and pin these guys down, basically going to be sacrificed. And you can see the Armstrong gun firing in. Let's go take a look back over here at the other flank. Let's see, where is the Gatling gun's way back here in the back. Still no engagement from my teammate. He's basically holding back and seeing if I can overwhelm this flank. And right now, I'm being somewhat successful at this. These troops right here do not have line of sight over the hill or in a bad position because they could be charged by my Kisho Ninja. And out here, my Nodachi Samurai are fighting desperately against Saber Cavalry, which is actually a pretty good match against them. But now in this prolonged combat and with the use of the Bonsai ability, my Nodachi Samurai can hang in that combat for long enough to finish it off, and I'm bringing in reinforcements. Again, over here, the Imperial troops are tied down. Their general is actually stuck in combat, and I do believe that he dies somewhere in this combat. He's under a lot of fire from his own men, and the general did just die for some of the Imperial troops, so it's going to hurt their morale badly. You can see here they're fleeing my troops, not wanting to be caught. So I use the stealth run, will help my guys speed up and help chase those guys down. Imperial troops retreating to the safety of the hill, using multiple line fire very nicely there. It looks like my teammate is trying to put together a bit of a push over here, being very cautious in so doing though, using some bow samurai to kill some levy infantry from a distance. My bow samurai have been pushing back more infantry as well, and now I have this flank a little bit free. And I can use my Katana Cavalry to assert some maneuverability against the enemy. These Kisho Ninja are still very much alive after their first initial skirmish, and they are coming in and they are going to kill yet more Imperial infantry, giving them quite the stabbing. This is the last kind of unit that any modern unit really wants to be in combat with. Even US Marines will struggle against the Kisho Ninja, unless they get shots off first. So yeah, I can see my ninja hacking these guys to pieces, and they will completely destroy them. here the Imperial troops on the hill firing down at my men who are trying to cross the valley. And so it's basically a slaughterhouse. I have to pull back. But my Kisho Ninja are starting to break up this flank, which is very nice. However, once they break through these Imperial infantry, they will be shot to pieces by the unit up on the hill, shooting their own men, the Imperial troops here. And that order was actually given by the generals in the actual battle, that if they had to, friendly fire or not, kill the samurai and do not let them escape. So it was a very brutal mentality there. My bow samurai are doing a nice job of softening up some of these Imperial infantry. You can see them under pretty heavy bow fire here. So using the range of that Yumi bow and getting a hold of these guys. My men are going to be shot at as they charge the hill. Still not a ton of engagement over here. Let's see if that the Gatling gun still has not been used in combat. We'll keep an eye on that to see if it does get used. But right now, this flank is actually turning in my favor. I've got Katana Samurai who are about to catch the Imperial troops in melee combat. This is very good for me. And we've got a lot of the Imperial troops almost fleeing over here due to losses and concerns over the general dying. My Katana cavalry is going to come in to basically cut off the retreat of the Imperial troops. So we're going to ride down a bunch of these men who are trying to flee to a better position. So now they're going to be run down by the cavalry of the samurai in these woods here. So that's going to turn into a slaughterhouse for my men. And then my teammate doing a good job tying down some Imperial infantry over here. We now have a general push back in this vicinity. Let's watch to see the Gatling guns in action, if they are in action.
Enemy approaching!
Don't see any firing going on just yet. So yeah, this flank's wrapping up for sure. It's going to fall in our favor. Definitely want to see if these guys get used. Let's just watch over here. Got some nice flaming arrow action coming in. Multiple lines trying to fend off the samurai attack that's now flowing down the hill and into the valley. The levy infantry are the ones up front, kind of being used as meat shields. But you can see the traditional troops now pushing up for glory. This is some sweet, sweet footage. Shogun 2 is so absolutely beautiful. So here comes the samurai on Imperial action here. And it looks like they're going to get a successful charge into these infantry and then be able to push on to the second lines. Let's take a look here and see. The Gatling guns do not have the best line of sight. Ooh, there they are, opening fire. So Gatling guns firing indiscriminately into their own men and into the samurai as well in the woods, attempting to cut down the enemy before it's too late, because right now the tide of battle definitely swings against them. Very sweet units. Look at the graphics in this game. Holy crap, this is beautiful. So, awesome battle so far. Another general bodyguard gets caught here by my unit representing Saigō and also my Katana cavalry. So Saigō helps kill the enemy general, and now the Imperial troops lose their resolve seeing their general killed and seeing the general charge that's going on. And Gatling guns are not. The traditional troops are pushing forward. The men on the Gatling guns flee, knowing that their fate soon awaits them. And the traditional troops win the day, running down the Imperial dogs and teaching them why they shouldn't have given in to Western culture and held their tradition. So very much the opposite of what happened in the real battle, but partly because we altered this scenario fairly heavily in order to make it even playable so that it wasn't a slaughter. So in real life, obviously the samurai were slaughtered. If you think about it, it's way easier to teach a man how to use a rifle than it is to teach a man for his whole life how to be a samurai. So as each samurai fell to a simple rifle bullet, then that was like a whole lifetime of training and tradition that went into that. So part of the reason why the age of the samurai just could not stand up to the age of industry and the age of rifles. So this was the results from the battle. We'll take a look at the unit statistics and see who did the best for me. This Kisho Ninja did extremely well, 45 men racking up 168 kills. This Katana Samurai doing very well. As we just kind of work our way down here, let's see. My Yari Samurai never even saw combat. This one didn't. A little bit of combat for some of the others, but you can see the Katana Cavalry, very helpful units. And let's see, my general too, it'll say Shimazu, but you know, we're going to pretend that this guy was Saigō, even getting into some combat himself. So yeah, definitely a fun game. Hope you all enjoyed this scenario. What do you want the next scenario to be? Remember to go down in the comments and vote. And apparently, man, Jimmy Conway knows what you all want, because he just keeps on racking up the wins. May have to give that guy some kind of prize for this or something. Anyway, hope y'all enjoyed it. HeirofCarthage signing off, and I will see you back in the next scenario battle.